Prime Minister Mark Carney is traveling to Switzerland today for the World Economic Forum. He will give a speech there tomorrow outlining his vision for Canada in the world. Carney is heading to Switzerland from Qatar, a country he calls a strategic partner on major energy projects. While in Davos tomorrow, Carney will meet with French President Emmanuel Macron before giving speeches aimed at drumming up investments here in Canada. And he is set to hold talks with leaders of institutions and corporations. President Trump is expected to be there. CTV's Rachel Ayala is following all the developments from Ottawa. She joins us now with more. Rachel, good morning to you. So a lot on the Prime Minister's plate. What's his focus this week?
Good morning, Marcia. So yes, the Prime Minister is going to be arriving in Zurich later this morning. We're expecting an arrival and a shot of that arrival around 10:30 Eastern time, but it's late into the afternoon in Switzerland. So the Prime Minister isn't expected to hold any other events or meetings this afternoon, but that is likely so he can prepare for what could be a pretty high stakes confab at Davos. This has all become increasingly more high stakes over the weekend because of Donald Trump ratcheting up his threat on European allies in regards to Greenland. So while the Prime Minister has gone to Switzerland or is heading there with the intention of focusing on trade diversification, pitching Canada to the world, multilateral cooperation, it really does seem like, Marcia, just another global confab, a global meeting of world leaders, businesses, where Donald Trump and his threats are looming large.
It's going to be so interesting to watch how those world leaders react to President Trump. Now, we know that Mark Carney has been opposed to Trump's plans to buy Greenland and his threat to impose tariffs over the weekend to all those who do not agree. When it comes to Carney and Trump, what sort of dynamic are we watching for there?
So I think the big question is, are they going to meet on the sidelines? As of now, there's no bilateral meeting between the two scheduled, and that could go pretty sideways because we are hearing, we can now confirm that senior government officials, that Canada is at least considering sending a few troops to Greenland. This is a move that other European countries are doing. This is all tied to Canada's obligations under NATO. Should Canada go ahead and send any degree of military force there, largely just on a standby symbolic note, Marcia, this is not in any sort of defensive capacity, that could rile President Trump more right now. Canada isn't being threatened by that ratcheting up of tariffs that Trump has levied at European countries over the weekend. But should the federal government, Canadian officials confirm that some degree of Canadian military presence will be headed there, what will that mean for the relations with Donald Trump? How would that go over? And how would Mark Carney, as he committed to over the weekend, indicating his concern about the escalation in the Arctic, be received?
So some pretty big political implications, Rachel, if the Prime Minister follows through on that.
Certainly, and I think this is going to be a situation where we're watching to see as well if other NATO allies get together, have a conversation about how to potentially present a united front to U.S. President Donald Trump. If this is a situation where they're all going into this together, does that kind of lessen the blow? How does Prime Minister Mark Carney approach this, given the way he's been approaching some other sensitive diplomatic conversations over the last few days in this trip specifically? So high stakes because, yes, Canada's own trade negotiations with the U.S. are supposed to be starting imminently. Donald Trump is bringing a big contingent to the World Economic Forum with him. So certainly if it's not Trump that he brushes shoulders with, there will be other high-level officials. So a lot at stake for Canada and for Prime Minister Mark Carney over the next few days.
Rachel, thanks for all of that. Rachel Ayala joining us from the Bureau in Ottawa this morning. We'll check in with you throughout the morning.